Hey everyone, my name is George and I'm the creative director of Strezov Sampling. Today I would like to welcome you to the first walkthrough video of our brand new library Arabian Ethnic Orchestra. Arabian Ethnic Orchestra is a thematic library which draws inspiration from the sounds, rhythms and instruments of the Middle East. Similar to all the other ethnic libraries we've done in the past, our first mission creating such an instrument is capturing and preserving 100% of the authenticity of the region, the people and their musicianship. This is why the library was recorded in Syria, as the whole process was supervised by our friend and well-known film composer in the Arab world, Saad al-Husseini. The concept of the library was created along with Setsui, who is no stranger to the process, as we have created Jade Ethnic Orchestra and Jade Evolutions together. Our man on site was Michael Seifert, who traveled to Syria with a bunch of microphones and preamps and was able to make all the recordings in Damascus run as smoothly as possible. All the content of the library is performed and recorded by local musicians in order to guarantee the aforementioned authenticity. Arabian Ethnic Orchestra has a specific installation instructions, so be sure to check our other video concerning that topic. And now, since the library has quite a lot and versatile content, let's jump right in. The content of the library is divided into the following categories. We have bowed strings, plucked strings, woodwinds, percussion, voices, and sparks. For the ensembles, strings, percussion, voice effects, we used the Damascus Opera Hall, and the soloists were recorded in Saad's personal studio. So let's play some instruments. In addition to the articulations we typically sample, for this particular library we wanted to really capture the authentic performances of the different musicians. That is why the library features a bunch of improvisation instruments along with some interesting phrase patches. The main panel contains a familiar microphone control section, akin to what you'd find in many of our other libraries, with close, mid and far mic positions. Here they are. For all the microphones you have the option to purge, adjust the control, the volume, to solo or mute, and you can select a different output from here. You can pan it differently to the left or to the right and adjust the width. All of the articulation patches named KS or key switch have these additional option controls on the right side of the GUI. Legato type. You can switch between polyphonic, monophonic and non-legato, which is sustains only. For all the legato patches, you can adjust the speed of the transitions using the monospeed control and polyspeed knob, allowing you to control the feel of the legato. Let me demonstrate. The slower speed gives you a true glissando effect, whilst faster speeds allow for tighter legato transitions. The legato adapts its speed if you play very fast passages, again depending on the parameters of the monospeed or polyspeed knobs. You can turn release samples on or off for the selected instrument and also adjust the offset of those samples to suit your writing style. You can also set up the attack, decay, sustain and release, turn off the reverb, or completely ignore all the release samples. And you can also adjust the offset of the release samples to suit your writing style. Let me show you. I'll just turn off the reverb as well. And maybe no release at all. so you can experiment with the sound to your liking. You can turn the reverb effect on and off or adjust the wet volume, of course, it's pretty standard. And right here we have the velocity dynamic influencer, which can be set from obviously from off to plus or minus 6 dB. So with this, all notes that are played with velocity higher than 64 will be amplified, and all notes below 64 will be gradually attenuated. So let me demonstrate you. Here's a really nice example for this. So I'll play like a drone note, very, very softly. In the second tab of the options menu, you have access to more customization options. You have Niente on and off, which brings the patch to silence when you dial your mod wheel all the way down. MIDI assignments can also be changed, both for the dynamics and expression. You have to click the numbers, activating the MIDI learn functionality. By default, the sustain pedal is linked to the sustained notes right here, but if you'd like, you have the option to right-click on the button and choose your own controller. Tuning Humanize detunes the performances to again increase realism up to plus or minus 15 cents. This function is dependent on your DAW's playback. So if you're running Kontakt in standalone mode like I am, for example, at the moment, make sure to activate this play button right here, which is the external sync. Let me demonstrate to you. And right here at the bottom you have the option to select or remove round robins. The third tab is the key switch tab. Here you can turn on and off any of the key switches in the KS patches. You can also move the whole key switch set up and down your keyboard to match your workflow. In the last fourth tab you can find our newly implemented microtuning option. By default you have the Western scale activated, which is basically the regular standard tuning and is not tuned specifically for any key. To choose a microtuning option, first select the key or the starting point of the scale by selecting the bass note in the drop-down list right here. So let me, for example, play something in D. Then choose a region from one of the available categories: Syrian, Turkish, Egyptian, Iranian, Ancient, African, Far Eastern, Indian, Miscellaneous, and Near Eastern. By selecting any of these, you'll see a list with the different scales specific for this region. Select the scale, in my case I'll choose Syrian Saba, and the patch will automatically tune the correct notes to the scale, with their regional microtuning variants. When you select the scale, the Kontakt keyboard will change colors. The root key will be the color green. All keys which are within the selected scale will be color purple, and all keys which are not within the scale will retain their standard color of blue. So let me show you the Syrian Saba scale. Please note that only certain notes of the scale will have microtuning applied, and these notes are not indicated by a specific color. This is to keep the interface from looking too cluttered and difficult to read. If any of those controls are not clear enough, you can always access the help page by clicking right here on the eye icon at the top right corner of any of the instrument GUIs. In addition to the articulations we typically sample, for this particular library we wanted to really capture the authentic performances of the different musicians. That is why the library also features a bunch of improvisation instruments along with some interesting phrases patches. As mentioned before, The library contains more than 20 improvisation patches, all of which have a bit of an unconventional for us layout compared to the regular articulation instruments. While the controls over the microphone sections are the same for the whole library, there are a couple of different options available for the improv instruments. Here on the right side, you can still find the attack, release, and reverb options. However, below them, you can find the tune and start offset options. They can be applied separately for any single phrase. This allows for huge sound design potential and creative use of the massive amount of improvisations available. Most of the improvisations were based on a few different Arabic scales or makams, and we have mapped those as different key switches within the improv patches. There are a few exceptions where some of the key switches contain also different effects. In the info panel right here, you can find information about the selected makam, along with the root key of the currently played improvisation. That way, you can easily find the improv phrases to match your current track. Arabian Ethnic Orchestra also has about 20 phrase patches. Those are a selection of 32 pre-composed phrases by Sato Husseini, divided into 8 different makams. And all those makams have 4 phrases each: Nahawand, Hijaz, Bayat, Rast, Chord, Ajam, Sikha, and Saba. Those phrases were played and recorded by most of the instruments within the library, and those were tracked in 4 different tempi: 80 BPM, 100 BPM, 120 BPM, and 140 BPM. The library will automatically select the closest phrase to your dose tempo and time stretch it to match exactly the tempo. You can even change tempo smoothly in your DAW, and the time stretching will adapt in real time. And once you press a makam with the key switches, marked right here in red at the bottom, the keyboard layout changes. There you'll see the root notes of the recorded phrases marked in green, while the rest is transposed. Blue and yellow keys just separate the different phrase variants. One exception here are the phrase patches for the vocalists. Even though their performances follow the same makams as the ones played by the other instruments, those performances were not the same phrases, but musically are meant to serve as sort of a question-answer, and they work perfectly in between the other recorded phrases. However, these can also be used very easily separately, since they have a very characterful feel and vibe. Please note that for any of the instrument phrases, the musical content is the same no matter the tempo. However, the vocal phrases are different in any different tempo due to their improvised nature. Let me demonstrate.
la 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 la. Auf, auf, auf.
Since the phrases were intended to be played as ensembles, we decided to create 3 phrase combination instruments where you could have a couple of them play together, thus allowing you to create your own ensemble. Let me show you with the plucked strings. Within those combined patches, any of the included instruments have their own on and off button, right here. Click the name of the instrument to activate it, and this purges the samples when not in use. They can also have their own volume slider, allowing you to make your own ensemble mix. However, don't forget to keep an eye on the RAM usage if you want to use all of them at once. Being a huge part of Arabian music, percussion instruments and percussion performances were key for us in order to deliver the authentic Middle Eastern feel of the library. We offer you 2 percussion patches, single hits based on our Extreme engine, and loops. Within the single hit section, we've recorded 10 different ensembles and solos with a total of 61 different articulations, and detailed info can be found in the manual of the library. This layout will be familiar to any user of our existing Extreme Percussion series. The instrument contains 12 different zones right here, and you can assign different instruments to each of the zones just by clicking on the zone marked here with Z1, Z2, 3, 4, 5, and etc., and then navigating through the list of instruments and articulations. Try and choose one that works well for you, and just by clicking on it you can build your own percussion pack of different sounds. All 12 keyboard zones are using different color markers to allow for easier navigation and playability. And not only that, when you start editing a zone, its color will change to purple. We did this to avoid confusion and to give you a clear view of what you are currently editing. The reset round robin function is also available to you as a key switch located right here at A-1, marked again in purple. There are both global and zone-specific microphone controls for Extreme, in the top left and at the bottom right corner. These use the same parameters as the other patches in the library and give you either quick or individualized controls over shaping the sounds in your Extreme kit. The right side of the interface features several controls at your disposal for shaping the sound of all the different instruments in your current template. Again, these are separate for each of the zones. So you have a 3-band EQ, transient, attack and sustain, saturation, attack and release, pitch shift, round robin selection or deselection, zone settings with the global zone volume, close, mid and far mic controls panning, and align, sample align. On the top left you can find new, load, save, reset round robin and help buttons. Also, there are 2 additional buttons at the bottom right corner, discard and clear. Discard reverts all changes you have made to the default values, and clear removes all samples and settings from this zone. So let me quickly show you how the Extreme engine works. So when I click new, it basically removes all the samples from the keyboard. So then I can map something to zone number 1, for example, major ethnic. Okay, so I like this one. So on the second zone, which is basically the next couple of keys on the keyboard, I'll use this one. And then on the third zone, I can place another instrument. And this one, for example, I don't like very much, like the pitch of it, so I can and maybe make it snappier. And since it's kind of louder than the other instruments, and that way you can create your own percussion kit and play around with all the instruments that we've recorded. As for the percussion loops, we were trying to be as close to the authentic vibe of Arabian music as possible, and of course we recorded real performances of some of the most unused percussion rhythms in this region. So let me load the instrument. We have sampled 23 different rhythms, all with their different meters, feel and instrumentation. You can see them right here at the right of the UI. All those loops were recorded in 4 different tempi, and the library selects the performance closest to the tempo of your DAW and then stretches it to match perfectly. Again, if you want to change the tempo of the loop, simply change the tempo in your DAW and it will follow. You can even change tempo smoothly in your DAW and the time stretching algorithm will adapt in real time, same as the phrases. So each loop contains a different number of ensemble or soloist recordings, as those can vary between 7 and 12. So again, see the instrument list in the manual for more details. These are indicated and can be played on the keyboard, starting from C4 on the blue keys. C3, which is colored in purple, is triggering all the instruments played together with the selected percussion loop. It is suitable for fast preview or if you want to use the rhythm as recorded by the musicians. Regarding the instrument placement, we have arranged the recorded performances from low to high and also from ensemble to soloist. This can be easily determined just by going through the active keys of any selected percussion loop. Even though these are pre-recorded loops, the creativity imbued into this instrument is basically enormous. You can try playing some of the instruments on the downbeat and some of them on offbeat. This will give you entirely different results, creating something completely new in feel and vibe. Let me show you. As demonstrated earlier in the video, for this library we have sampled 4 different soloists: soprano, alto, tenor and bass, and also an ensemble singing some characteristic vocal effects and ad-libs very distinctive to Arabian music. And each of the soloists have recorded sustains and 2 short articulations, which we have separated into 2 different patches: sustain patch containing 4 different syllables and shorts patch containing 9 different syllables, both in staccato and staccatissimo. Both patches are recorded in multiple dynamics. So the sustains and short instruments have an auto cycle option, which is selected by default and which will cycle through all the available syllables. Of course, if you want only one of the syllables to be played, you can just select it by pressing the corresponding key switch. The soloist also recorded a number of different phrases, which we talked about earlier. Arabian Ethnic Orchestra also features a Sparks patch, something that we've made sure to include for all of our other ethnic libraries as well, and something which was frequently demanded by the users for our previous releases. And here we have a collection of 53 different Sparks divided into 2 categories: fantasy and sci-fi, all of them adding to the distinctive feel of the whole library. The Sparks were created by Lubomir Goshev, Hristo Penev and yours truly. Arabian Ethnic Orchestra is, again, a very big library that probably cannot be explained in a single video. So we've tried to give you as much information in this walkthrough as possible. Everything else can be found in the menu of the library, and obviously once you click on the eye icon, the information icon here at the top right corner, you'll find most of the controls, like the information for it. Thank you for watching, for spending the time to watch this video, and again, thank you for being part of this journey across the world and across all those traditional instruments. And we hope that they will really inspire you in creating some real nice and cool music, as usual. Thank you.